In simple terms, I would say a software tester or a test analyst, or there's so many terms for it. But so I would say there's no course on Udemy or any other platform that would teach you how to test, right? You need to get an actual internship or a job where they're going to teach you how to test, right? Once you know how to test, then you can work for any company and test their systems, right? The entry requirement for most of these positions would either be you have to have a degree in IT or you have to have your ICQB foundation certificate. So every company uses different tools, right? And it also depends which type of software you're testing with. But I would say mainly you need to know your software testing tools. The best thing to do in corporate is just cover your ass, ask the right questions, make sure you have notes, make sure you document everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to it. As you know, my name is Mr. Fingers. Welcome to another episode. And today we do have a very phenomenal guest. And let me just say this, man. She is in a very interesting career field. She's in a career field which even I was like, wow, okay, I need to know more about this career field because I've never heard about it. But it's so interesting that I'm sure that you guys at home would be hooked with this career field, man. Let me just tell you a bit more about our amazing and phenomenal guest, that she's a dedicated wife, a corporate professional, and a loving mom to a 2-year-old. She's also a twin, and she has 5 siblings. She finished at the University of Johannesburg with a BA degree in public management and governance. One of her goals is to aspire to be transitioned into a role of system analyst or business analyst in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Nani. Hey girl, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fayez.
How you been?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to do the podcast, and thank you for just being part of the community as well.
It's a pleasure, hey?
Yeah, so tell me a bit more, share with us your journey in terms of how were you able to transition to become a test analyst, and how were you able to transition into that?
Okay, so my software journey started back in 2017. So I just graduated with my PhD degree in 2016, and I applied for so many internships, and I got rejections. And 2017 came, and I didn't have a job, and I also didn't apply for my honors. So I started working in retail then, and that's when I decided that, you know what? If I can't find a PMG job, a job is a job, right? And luckily, I then found my my software testing job. So they needed software testers, and I was the first software tester in the company. And that's how my software journey started. I also didn't know what software testing is. So I learned and found out everything from that small company when I joined back in 2017.
Interesting. For some of us who don't know what software testing is, what is that? What is a software tester or software analyst? Software tester analyst.
Okay, cool. So, in simple terms, I would say a software tester or a test analyst, or there's so many terms for it, but yeah, software testing, we'll call it software testing for today.
Yeah.
Our job is basically to test software, right? We know it's 2024, we use apps for everything. So every app that any company designs, they need to be able to make money from that app, right? So my job is to make sure that this app will function once it gets into the market, right? So the developer will develop an app for me, and then I would have a job spec, or not a job spec, sorry, the specification documents from the BA or the SA, and then I would go and test based on this documentation that I was given, right? So I would make sure that the developer developed exactly what's written in this document. And if anything deviates from what is written in there, then that's when I log a defect to say, this needs to be fixed by the developer, so that when a user uses this app, it will do exactly what the company needs it to do.
Oh, interesting. You have a very interesting job, right?
I know.
Out of a scale of 1 to 10, how interesting is your day most of the time? How is your day to day? Because I know it differs.
So it differs, right? And also it differs from which company you work for, right? So the first company I worked for was a healthcare company. So we used to make sure that people can claim from Discovery. They can actually make sure that they get their money from any other medical aid that they claim for. And from there, I worked for a company called Derafco, and there we tested games, right? So if you love games, then you're definitely going to enjoy working for this company, because my job was literally logging into a game, playing the game, make sure it pays out, it functions properly. And currently now in the bank, I test software to make sure that people can actually log into our systems, people can apply for a loan. So my day gets interesting depending on which company I work for and which project I worked for at that time. So yeah, um, currently now I'm working on a project that is very frustrating. um, so we test the same thing over and over, and then it breaks, and then it works, and then it breaks, and then it works. So yeah, it is very nice finding bugs, but you come to a point where you're just like, I don't want to find bugs anymore now. I need the system to start working. So yeah.
Interesting. And then obviously you've been in the industry since 2017 and all that. But what are the skills do you think for a person, for example, who's coming from outside and they like, okay, I want to also become a software tester or software analyst. Where do I start in terms of building certain skills?
To be honest, there's no correct way, right? I always tell people that when they come to me, there is no correct way, because also I didn't study IT, and I landed up in software testing. So I would say there's no course on Udemy or any other platform that would teach you how to test, right? You need to get an actual internship or a job where they're going to teach you how to test, right? Once you know how to test, then you can work for any company and test their systems, right? Depending on if they're willing to take you in. Because I remember it took me 5 years to get into the bank, right? They used to reject me without fail, telling me that you don't have banking experience, so we only want testers that have banking experience, right? So I would say first to start getting your ICQB foundation certificate, or maybe do it the other way around. Try to get a job first and then do your certificate. But the entry requirements for most of these positions would either be you have to have a degree in IT, or you have to have your ICQB foundation certificate. So I would say don't waste your time on any courses that are going to teach you how to test. They won't help you with anything. You need actual on-the-job training. But your ICQB foundation certificate is a must. That's an entry-level requirement for most positions for testing.
Now, where do I go about getting that particular certificate?
So when I did mine on SATQBT. So ICQB is the international recognized board, and then every country will have their own. So ours will be SATQB, South African one. So I went onto this website, and it's self-study. So you pay 2,350 if I'm not mistaken. You study. You can say I can write in 6 months or however long you want to study. Then you go in and you write your exam, right? Once you write your exam and you pass, they'll send you your certification. Or there's a lot of other providers as well where you go into class and they teach you. And then you have to pay a bit more because they're actually teaching you on the modules and stuff that you need to be ready for. But honestly speaking, I did mine self-study. I got the test dumps on the website, and I got the the study material on the website. And I passed on my first attempt. It is very difficult. English, they're very tricky. So you need to read your questions and be sure before you answer. But yeah, that's where you can find the certificate.
Most challenging thing that you find about your job at this current moment, or you're faced in your job?
Oh, testing is the last part, right, of the SDLC, right, the software development cycle. So it will start with the essays, the devs, and then finally it will come to us, right? So the challenging part is that everyone else gets enough time to analyze, to develop, and then when it comes to us, it's really crunch time. So we need to make it work, whether it be in a week or a few days or whatever. So we're always at the end, and we're always pressed for time. So that's the most challenging part. So you always hear that you might have missed something, and the users will only pick it up in live. So that's the most challenging part.
This is, your job is very interesting.
Yeah.
I thought my job is interesting, but I feel like we should exchange places, and you come this side and I go that side.
Nah, maybe I'll breathe, Nyana.
Well, there's no breathing, yeah. Yeah, but it's very interesting. And then in terms of the tools, what kind of tools do you currently use, or should people familiarize themselves with? If, for example, I want to apply for internship, at least I know that I can go further ahead by applying myself with certain tools and expose myself to certain tools and technologies?
So every company uses different tools, right? And it also depends which type of software you're testing with, right? But I would say mainly you need to know your software testing tools would be Jira. So Jira is where they create the story for you and be like, okay, you need to test that a user should be able to log in our system. So that's where we log our stories. And then another popular one would be TestRail. That's where we actually create our test cases, because you need to create a test case and say, these are the steps. And only if this happens, the test case passes, right? And then Confluence is like a Google for the company, where you store information on there. That's where you write your documents, you put it on Confluence. So people need to familiarize themselves, I would say, with Jira, TestRail, and Confluence. Other than that, it will be the specific tool that you use for the project. Like right now in the bank, we're using Microsoft. So Dynamics 365 is the tool that we're using for my project.
Oh yeah, I'm confident we also use it as well. Jira, we use Jira. A couple of tools that you guys use as well. Which obviously one has to familiarize themselves with. There's another one called in most companies they also don't use Jira. They use another one for substitute as a project management tool.
The DevOps one.
Yes. Yeah, you get my point though. Everyone.
Yeah.
You know, in your job, obviously, it's all about testing. It often requires close collaboration with developers and also stakeholders as well. But tell us a bit more, how do you ensure effective communication and collaboration within the team is very successful? Because all that, it's all about communication. But how do you go about in making sure that effective communication and collaboration is met?
Honestly speaking, it's all about building relationships, right? It's kind of difficult when you guys start working together. And in my team, we change teams frequently, so you need to adjust to new types of personalities and people. So I would say just building relationships also help. We also have like team buildings where you can actually meet people, right? Because we work at home most of the time. We twice in the office a week, but you go to any office that's near to your house. So I don't even see the people in my direct team. So these team buildings also helps with learning how other people are and their personalities. So yeah, I think just building relationships.
Yeah, I think relationship really helps. When you have relationship with your teammates, it plays very well. And even when it comes to winning into a certain project, it makes things even much more easier in terms of communication as well. If, for example, you are also confused about something, it's easy for you to even go back to that particular team member as well. So that's a good win, right? Right on it, right? I like that. What advice would you give basically to somebody who was just starting out in their career as a test analyst? What advice would you give to somebody who's starting out right there? They were like, okay, I'm just starting out my career, bit nervous, I might flop. I don't know.
So I would say ask questions, don't assume. That's very important. If you assume you know how something works, it will come back as a live bug. The user will do something on the production side. So make sure you ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask. Sometimes the audience is a bit big. And there's no stupid question, right? Because we all understand stuff differently. So just make sure that you ask the right questions. If you feel like the audience is too big, go message the essay. Ask them if you can speak to them one-on-one. But the best thing to do in corporate is just cover your ass. Ask the right questions. Make sure you have notes. Have a OneNote. I don't know if you like writing stuff down. Make sure you document everything. So yeah, I think that's what is important.
I believe that as well. Asking a lot of questions actually helps and gives you a better understanding as well. And I think coming in the room as not as a big person, but coming in the room as a learner, it really helps and helps you to understand more and know more as well. At this current moment, in obviously what you're doing, how do you yourself obviously keep yourself, updated with certain things, so you know that you keep track of your work, but how do you keep yourself updated with the latest technology and all these things? Which platforms do you use on your personal side?
So we have access to Udemy. So they give us licenses for Udemy. So I use Udemy to upskill. And I also attend training courses. So for the Microsoft courses, I need to be certified. So I make sure that I attend those courses and I write the exams to be certified. Right now, I have my foundation and my advanced testing certificates. So I've kind of stopped on those certificates for now until I need one of them. But yeah, I would say keep up with the ICTB Foundation certificates and Udemy. So maybe if you don't understand how Jira works or Confluence works, go to Udemy. There's stuff on everything on Udemy. So those are the stuff that we use to stay up to date. And also because I work in the bank, I have to do my training to make sure that I'm compliant. So those are also the other trainings that I attend.
What do you think, obviously as a test analyst, but careers like your test analyst are going to be in the next 3 years to 5 years now because of new technology coming in, because of seeing AI is coming in. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be more jobs in the market?
Honestly speaking, so I'm a manual tester. So there's two types of testers basically, manual or automation, right? So manual means I physically go into the system as a user and I break the system, right? Automation, you need to know code. So you basically write code to say, go into the system and test this, right? So code will never do what I actually do, right? It will do what you tell it. You'll say log in, right? But me as a user, I'll be fiddling and clicking on other things and breaking it, right? So we see more and more automation positions, but manual testing will never die down. Companies will always need at least one or two manual testers. And in my team, we're always more manual testers than automators, right? Even though it takes longer to manually test something. But I would say that people shouldn't think that manual testing will die down and automation will take over, because as a manual tester, you could rather upskill yourself to be an automation tester. And then you have both the skills, right? But it also depends on the person, because I've tried automation and I didn't like it, because I'm not going to sit and wait for the system to test for me, right? So yeah, it will never die down. There'll always be jobs. And we know as a software tester, because we like the lower level, you can also always become either developer or automation or an SA or maybe a PM or anything else from being a software tester. So you'll always have job security.
100%. That's so true. Always upskilling yourself. I really like that. Obviously, you have future plans of becoming a business analyst in the near future. How do you go about, or what are your plans of obviously transitioning into that? What's your plan?
Yeah, so I have been picking up some business analyst work in my team. So I have started analyzing some stories for my team, and I've also attended some training for becoming an SA. So at the moment, I'm just waiting for a position to be open in my team, and then I would eventually transition to being an SA, right? Because I think also it's very good for you to become an SA from a tester, because you understand the system because you're a tester, right? So you would have the knowledge to be able to write requirements for that system as well. So yeah, those are my plans for the future.
Oh, nice. I like that. And then simple also to transition from the same company that you're working in, the same team, because they already familiarized with you. They know the capability and the skills that you have as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that. And then last words, obviously, for people at home who are sitting there, like, okay, maybe somebody who's in metric, like, you know what, I've got inspired by this interview by you, Nali, and I also want to jump in to become, obviously, a software tester or test analyst, or someone who's working, like, I want to transition into that position as well. What advice would you give to such a person?
So I would say, honestly, guys, before you study anything, do your research, right? Check if there's jobs on LinkedIn for this career. LinkedIn is really your friend. Like, people think I'm crazy when I tell them, guys. Unfortunately, because I'm not in HR, I don't know what the requirements are. I don't know what they look for when they interview people, but LinkedIn is your friend. Apply for jobs. Make sure that you research before you go and study further. Check if you want to work for a specific company. What are those specific, what specific requirements do they have when you eventually graduate, right? You don't want to go and just study any IT degree, and you don't know where you're actually going to look for a job, right? So make sure you do your thorough research and understand where you would be able to work after varsity.